Da 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 da.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Taking It Back to the Streets. My name is Ian DeMishaw, the host of this program. Each and every week we talk about issues and topics in the city of Waterbury. I've been focusing on the Palace Theater since I started the show 8 episodes ago, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that tonight. But I'd like to introduce my guest, Victor Cuevas, or should I say Dr. Victor Cuevas is my guest tonight. And Vic, thanks a lot for coming on, and I know we got a lot to talk about.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
And I know you're probably foaming at the mouth. You want to talk about politics and George Nugent. But before we get to that, I do want to talk about the Palace Theater a little bit. And I know you've been following some of the things that I've been talking about the Palace Theater. And I think you have a good understanding how the city of Waterbury and its residents are being cheated at the Palace Theater by A, not enough venues for the city, and B, no venues for Waterbury people, which is very obvious. And I know Frank Tavera, he's been telling different people in town, don't listen to Andy Michaud. He has a gripe. He doesn't like me. He doesn't have his facts right, which is totally untrue.
Right.
And the first thing I'd like to start off with is some of the things in the operating agreement, this page right here, and this was theater provisions. And it says that the Palace Theater is supposed to have 300 performances in a 3-year period, which is 100 a year. And the first thing you got to ask yourself is this real? Is this true?
Right.
Which it is. Then you look at the other part of the agreement, which states the assumption of events right there. You got that?
Mm-hmm.
All the events that are supposed to be happening in the Palace Theater. And as of this date, 20 years or 21 years after this agreement was signed, the state of Connecticut with the Palace Theater Group, they're supposed to be doing 100 shows a year, as I stated. And I did an FOI beginning of July. I asked for the listing of shows for the last 3 years at the Palace Theater. And this is one of the shows that I collated. I sorted out the information based on attendance, and this is from 2 years ago. At the Palace Theater, they have 84 performances or events, whatever you want to call them. And this is what Frank Tavera goes by, and he states that this is how he's meeting his obligation.
So 84 in how many years?
This is 84 in 1 year.
In 1 year. Okay.
And they're supposed to have 100.
Right.
And it states...
These numbers are low, though, for...
Well, we're going to talk about that. In the agreement, it says if they fail to reach the required number of shows, which is 100 a year, that they're in default.
Right.
Which is very obvious. And I know you mentioned earlier, which I spoke to the mayor when I saw him going hand in my FOI, saw him in the hallway, and he told me nothing is going to change there. And I'm saying to myself, how could that be when we have such a limited amount of shows there that bring in people? And if you look at the number of shows here, I just said 84. If you look at the first page, out of the 45 shows, not one of them was over 100.
That's pretty terrible.
At 53 shows, Vic, they have 53 shows under 100 in attendance. And I added them all up, the 53 shows, events, performances, whatever you want to call them, the 53, which is part of his 100 that he's required to do. The total attendance for 53 shows was 2,496 people. The Palace Theater holds 2,650 people. So with his 53 events, you could not fill the Palace Theater once. And he considers this fulfilling his obligation in the agreement. And these are his numbers.
Who's keeping him accountable to this?
Nobody.
But why? Don't they do they have a board?
Sure, they have a board.
Who's on the board?
I think you have 5 or 6 people from the city of Waterbury. The board, I think, has about 20 people. 2/3 of them live out of town. They're not Waterbury residents.
Well, that shouldn't be happening.
They live out of town. I believe there's 2 aldermen. The mayor, I believe, picks 5 to be on that board. So the out-of-towners are happy with it because, as Frank Davino used to call the Palace Theater, was the theater of the elite. It's not for the people that own it, which is Waterbury people.
Right.
It's for the out-of-towners, the elite, the money guys. They use the theater as a private country club, and we're shut out. So, I mean, we were forced to take the Palace Theater group on by the agreement from the oversight board back in the day. They didn't want any delays. It'd be harmful to the financial health of the city. So we were forced to take this group on. Nobody has held them accountable. They come before the board of aldermen every year begging for money, but they don't provide any information. As Raphael said when he was on the show with me, that he looked into the agreement. Smart kid.
Right.
He looks into stuff. And they're
Well,
supposed
this says here, failure to meet the benchmarks is a default of the contract.
Right, event of default.
Right, event of default. But why is not anybody kind of
Questioning this.
well, forcing the hand too, like keeping them? You have to be, kept accountable to benchmarks if you're signing a contract. I mean,
You would think.
I would hope so. If you have a board that has half a brain.
Yeah, but like I said, these are out-of-towners. They don't want Waterbury people in there.
Well, that has to change.
Well, it really does because, I mean, as far as economic development and ancillary business coming to Waterbury, Mike DiGiancarlo, when he was on,
Right.
he told me he spoke to Frank Tavera the day before. Frank told him that there was a study done with theaters that for every patron that comes in, they spend about $22 extra dollars, ancillary dollars in that area.
That's awful too.
Well, yeah, but if you balance
I'm
it out,
saying.
but if you ask any restaurant in Waterbury, the night they have a real show with more than 50 people,
Right.
they're all busy. They're all busy. So you might before the show, you might go
Signatures, the Orioles.
You might put gas in the car. Then you go out to eat. After the show, you might go have a few drinks. You might have coffee someplace, a slice of pie, something. So people are spending money. But when you have no people, nobody's spending money.
Yeah.
And that's the problem we have because if you look, and again, these are Frank Tavera's numbers. I know he doesn't like me talking about this, but the truth hurts. 2 years ago, the total number of people in the 100 shows that he's supposed to have or events was 34,550 people. Came to the Palace Theater. 34,000 people. And I brought up several times, you take a place like the Ridgefield Playhouse. Were you ever there?
Yeah, Richfield's beautiful.
I mean, all it is it's a high school auditorium.
Right.
500 seats.
Doesn't look like the Palace Theater for sure.
Doesn't look like the Palace Theater for sure. Yeah. And they have about 200 to 250 shows a year, and they bring in 100,000 people. Now,
is that managed by a particular group, or is that subbed out to individuals?
I'm not exactly sure how they do it. I know it's some woman that manages it. Last show I was there. She was on stage speaking. They do an excellent job down there. They know how to bring the shows in. They know how to bring people in. Downtown Ridgefield's, every time there's a show, the restaurants are packed.
Right.
And they only have 500 seats. And they do triple the amount of attendance that we do.
Well, that's pretty broken.
That's very broken. I mean, it's very, very unfortunate that nobody is paying attention to this. And Mike DiGiancarlo told me that when he was on the show that I'm really the only one that's complaining about this.
Well, that's not necessarily the truth. The truth is that there's been a lot of people complaining about it. They just didn't know who to go to. And I mean, I think your show has set to light that, it's like a secret society, right? It's kept secret amongst certain people, how this operates. Some smaller groups in the community that have kind of shown interest about using the palace in the past, to myself, Jerry Reyes, and a few other church groups, I can firsthand tell you they've been locked out. And one of your earlier statements in the show was, how do you lock smaller organizations out that are community based? Is put a high price tag on them.
That's it.
That'll do it. Where's somebody going to come up with 10 grand?
Just to say hello.
Exactly.
Then you got to come in. They got to get a percentage of ticket sales. They got to get a percentage of everything.
But by the same token, I look at this as an opportunity. You have a new set of eyes on the Board of Aldermen. You have some new members. I know that you have some of the same members that are returning. But hopefully that your show has been providing enough insight for people to kind of work together from different communities and start putting pressure on the people that we've elected and the mayor, who's ultimately our leader in the community, in the city, to say, hey, there's going to be more transparency, more activity, more inclusiveness with this Palace Theater. How can we make it happen? I think that it's time for some creative things to go on, and when I watch some of your shows and I listen to some folks talk about this, for me, maybe it's just time to say to Frank, hey, why don't you sub some of this out? Let's do a little pilot study. For 6 months of the year, you do your thing. For the other 6 months, let's try to get some people who do promotions to promote some Spanish stuff, some African American stuff, some church concerts, country concerts, different
rock concerts,
whatever. I remember when I was the supervisor of Parks and Rec for recreation, we had a budget, and I used to deal with I think it was East Coast Entertainments they're out of Hartford, and they do festivals during the summer all over the place. They bring different bands, and you go out once a year we went out to Dunkin' Donuts for a day, and we watched like 20 bands, and people get to choose and pick. It was kind of like a sales pitch, right?
Yeah.
But I've seen community members come, and they've done things in Hartford, like the Playhouse. It was in Wethersfield or something. Where's the Playhouse?
You're in Hartford?
Yeah, is it in Hartford? No, there's like a Playhouse theater somewhere. There was one guy I talked to one time. I was sitting there, and he took a couple bands. It was a real unique strategy that he put together. He took a couple of country bands, some performances from that event, and he put a concert together to raise money. And he pre-sold tickets. I can't remember the guy's name, but it's just the idea of being creative and allowing other types of things to happen at the Palace. And to Frank's position, don't be afraid that they're going to take the cookie jar from you. Give half of the cookie jar up, give some power away, and say, okay, you know what? Everybody wants to see if this is really going to work. Let's try it for a year, 6 months. Let me sub it out to different promoters, and let's see what happens. I'll give you an example. I was a member of a Christian church in Bristol, and pastor. It's a Bristol. It's on Stephen Street, and Pastor Chris had an idea. There was a young man by the name of Danny Goki, who was I don't know if you remember, he won American Idol. He was from Brantford,
I do remember that name.
Right, he's from Brantford, Connecticut, local, but he made it big, right? And it had a tragedy in his life. I think his wife passed away in a car accident the night he was on American Idol.
Really?
It was an amazing story. He wrote a song about it, went back on Idol and won. Man, we hired him for our church for a fundraiser at Bristol Christian House on Stephen Street. It has a gymnasium, holds like maybe 400 people. The parking lot was packed. The house was packed. There is an audience for Christian music. There's an audience for country music. There's certainly an audience for old style Latin music. You need to find out, make contact with those folks who are in those realms and build those relationships and say, let me bring you to the palace. Let me sub it out to somebody who does this. There's plenty of guys out there just like your guy, right? And just take that leap of faith and see what it does for Waterbury. Because at the end of the day, it's not about Frank. And it's not about that board and the folks that are not living in Waterbury or the 5 aldermen that are sitting on there doing nothing. It's about building some vibrancy to the city, filling downtown streets, helping the restaurants, and having that following that's going to create a buzz to say, man, the palace is jumping. There's always something going on. And that's what you want. I mean, listen, I'm all for what you want.
Well, it ain't happening over there, Vic, and there's several reasons why. The first is there's a staff of 30 people that work there. If you don't believe me, go on their website, and you'll see the number of people that work there. And
$2 million budget?
$2 million budget. I looked real quick. It was hysterical. They have a staff of 30 people. If they had their staff come in for a meeting altogether, they would have had more attendance from their staff than 15 of their shows.
That's wild.
15 of their events. There's more staff people than 15 of their events.
That's wild.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. But the problem is that staff is all paid salary.
So here's a question that I don't know if you looked at, and I'm just watching your show, listening to some of the facts that you're presenting. If this was, and I know what Deej was on and said, or somebody said, I don't know if it was Deej, and don't quote me on it, but somebody says that they're not in the negative or they're not running in the negative or something to that effect. But the fact is that they're getting a lot of free money, right?
Sure.
They're getting donations and some grants and stuff.
City.
So let's just say that this was like strictly a business, right?
Yeah.
With those numbers, how would the palace really be doing?
Be closed. How could you operate a business
Well,
like
there's
this?
your answer.
I mean, if you look at the second page, I got percentages of attendance. These are their supposed real shows.
Right.
22%, 32%, 34%. 34% of capacity. How does any business survive? If you went to the Ridgefield Playhouse, it's almost sold out every night. They would never survive with 34%. Never.
That's awful.
But as I was saying, the staff is all paid salary. And every person that sits next to me, I say the same thing to them. If you're paid salary and you get paid the same amount of money, whether you have one show or 100 shows, how many shows would you do?
Ask some of the employees in the city of Waterbury.
They'd rather do one because they don't have to work. They didn't
Yeah.
do any shows the whole summer, Vic.
Yeah.
From June 14th to September 26th, 104 days, they had ugats. No shows.
Yeah.
No shows the whole summer, but they got paid. $500,000 went towards salary and benefits.
How many days was it without show?
104.
Wow.
June 14th to September 20th, the whole summer. Everybody's jamming in the state the whole summer
Yeah.
with shows.
Summer's the time to do it too. Everybody's out. Everybody wants to
Everybody's
get a night out. Yeah.
Not here in the city of Waterbury. And nobody forces their hand. Nobody holds them accountable.
Who are the aldermen? Do you even know that?
I think,
That are on the board?
yeah, we're on the board. I think Mary Grace Cavallo is on the board.
Well, she's gone.
I think Zimmerman was on the board.
She's back.
I'm not exact. Other than those two, I think they're the only two. I think there's supposed to be, maybe there's a Democrat on the board. I'm not exactly sure, but they're highly outnumbered.
Yeah, but this
And none of them, I guarantee you, none of them ever saw this.
Well, that's I mean, if I was in leadership, right, with the city, somebody has to take a hard look at this, right, and say, hey, let's create a subcommittee from
And investigate it.
and let's
see if this idiot Michaud on TV is right.
Well, yeah.
Let's look at the information that he's bringing
Vet it
forward.
yourself,
Is he
right.
making this stuff
Yeah.
up? And that's what I tell everyone. Don't listen to me.
Yeah, go look at the numbers.
Go look at the numbers.
Yeah.
Do your own homework. And that's the problem here because these people have no incentive to work. They
Yeah.
don't have to.
Scary.
So you do all this bullshit, these little shows over here of 40, 50 people, and you call it an event, and you just scratch it off your list of 100. That's nonsense.
Yeah.
And the people are suffering. And the biggest thing that bothers me is the lack of performances for the minorities in the city. There's nothing there, Vic. As I said to George and DJ, everybody goes there. It's lily white. It's all white people from out of town.
I'll put this out there right now. If this Frank Tavera called me, and I'm not a promoter or any of that, but the fact of my vested interest in this community serving over 30 years, being here 52 years in Waterbury, and the church folks that we're involved with,
yeah.
If he put out an olive branch, we can get together, Jerry Reyes and I can put together 20, 30 pastors, African-American pastors, Hispanic
Could you imagine
pastors.
doing that, Vic?
We could
Could
do
you imagine having on a Sunday all the small churches in Waterbury
it would
come
be a
to the Palace Theater?
You can even do like a Christmas show.
You know how many
I
things you
mean,
could do there?
You could do so much. I agree.
I mean, and I say it every year, Black History Month, they don't give the black community access to the theater for one day out of the year for Black History Month. They could celebrate it. As I said before, you start off at 11, maybe have a mass, a service. You have gospel singers. Then in the afternoon, maybe have an award ceremony. Then at night, you have Timmy Meyer, somebody else, black band coming in, performing.
Yep.
That's the key there. Same thing with the Hispanics. Three Kings Day.
You have to use it as a marketing tool, I think, for Frank, right? If think about it, you said there was 104 days they did nothing.
In a row.
Right. So, I mean, come on. That's
It wouldn't have cost them if they gave, let's say in February, if they gave the black community, say, here's a day.
Yeah.
It doesn't
It's in
cost
kind.
the Palace.
It's in kind.
In kind.
So you do in kind for, let's say 12 days a year. And you give not just the Hispanics and the African American, you could do an Italian,
Jews,
whatever. Yeah.
Muslim.
Whatever, yeah.
Every group.
But
And
it's
it says
just
it right
the
here,
outreach
Vic.
that you're doing that makes a difference.
Community users. 20 a year.
Right. Now, have we validated, have they satisfied that part of it?
No.
They haven't.
They didn't satisfy anything.
Wow.
And the point
So
is,
those community users, and I'm just being devil's advocate, those community users that are showing 20, is there a price tag that they have to pay or can they do in kind?
time large.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
And I say it every
that's
time.
crazy.
You get people that are doing fundraisers, like Warren Leach. He gets the dresses, the prom dresses for the girls, good guy, this and that. Give him one day a year.
Or maybe
have a fundraiser, raise 20 grand.
Or maybe you put a coalition of all these groups and you go to the mayor and you say, hey, you're distributing all this CBDG money, big money to Pell, big money to the Y. All the little organizations are getting zero, right? Yeah, I'm going to take some of the CBDG money and I'm going to give it to the Palace, but earmark it only for all these groups for these 12 days throughout the year. One a month.
One a month.
But the city's using their resources to provide the in-kind, but still not hurting the NOI of the Palace because they're still providing revenue streamed to the community event. But you're using CBDG funds. What's wrong with that?
Well, there's a million possibilities. Well, first of all, they got
It's an idea, right?
They got $5 million in the bank.
Right.
So it's not like
Yeah.
they're starving for money.
Nope.
Second of all their bills are paid already. So if they gave the black community for Black History Month one day in February, all their staff is already paid. All their bills are already paid. It's not like it's costing them anything else. Like, we got to bring in an extra crew for tonight. They're already all paid. Everybody is paid. And they leave the lights off. They all work from home now. They're in their bed in their pajamas watching TV, and they call that work. Doing what? I mean, getting ready for a tour of 8 people?
That's wild.
No, it's horrible.
That's a
It's horrible.
failure.
No. Well, the biggest, what I think needs to be done, like you said, Board of Aldermen, form a subcommittee, and investigate this.
Yes.
No stone unturned.
Yes. And be transparent. Make sure that, you come on this show or you do a public hearing.
Do whatever you got to do.
Do a public hearing right there.
Public hearing.
Put
right
Frank
there.
on the hot seat.
That's right.
Put him right there in the Palace
and-
Theater and invite the community. We want to talk. We want to ask questions. Why? Why are
Yeah.
you not doing this?
Yeah.
Why don't you put them up on the stage and have
Yeah.
different groups come, and have somebody moderate it and
Absolutely.
Yeah, it should be
I mean, what he's going to do is I call him Mr. Excuses. because that's all he does is give excuses. He's
Right.
going to give you a million different excuses why anything can happen. But the Palace Theater group has been in default since the day it opened. They never reach these benchmark of numbers. I think what has to happen now, as I just said, you have to have an investigation by the Board of Aldermen. Once they find out what I'm saying is true, then I think what needs to be done is they're in default, is put a request for proposal out. It seems to me that Frank can't get the job done. If you listen to this guy talk, he just cannot get this. There's too much competition. The theater's too big for him. There's a million different reasons. But as I said, you brought in a Keith Mahler, who owns College Street Music Hall in New Haven, does over 100 shows a year. Brought him in. Give him 50 days a year. Right? Just like you said.
Yeah.
Or if he can't figure it out, call up Jim Koplik.
Still going to generate revenue, so.
Absolutely. Bodies downtown. But bring in Jim Koplik. Biggest promoter in the state. Probably biggest promoter in who knows where.
Right.
Bring him in and say, listen, here's what we could do for you. Palace, I think they charge, like, by the time it's done, $32,000 to bring in a show. $32,000.
Pretty average.
What if you charge them 10? Say to Jim Koplik here, there's 50 dates, we'll charge you 10 grand a date.
So he makes a little bit for doing it? And
Yeah. So
puts it on the show.
yeah, and
Well,
then
what are you doing is you're
place is
creating some movement downtown.
economic development, and it's not happening.
The problem is, Andy, when you got a lot of different scenarios throughout the city that need a whole lot of vetting, right? The problem is when you start putting subcommittees together and you start to put, some of these folks that aren't elected officials in place of making decisions that are difficult like this, to be completely transparent, to be honest of whether things are working or not. Unfortunately, a lot of them are not independent thinkers and are not willing to take the risk to say what the leadership doesn't want to hear. Just think about it. I did a video clip during the budget hearings when the auditor from the city of Waterbury, who's an independent auditor who has no allegiance to anybody, and you can go watch it, and he said that when it was his time during the speaking, and he said that there were some improprieties, and that he had, for the last 2 or 3 years, he had gone to Corporation Counsel, gone to the mayor's office, trying to find out who he can report the improprieties, the whistleblowers, some of that he has validated and substantiated that some of this stuff is real. There was some corruption and there was some wrongdoings.
He said that?
Did you not watch the video?
I don't know if I saw
I
that.
I gotta send it to you. And then
They're not bringing that guy back.
Oh,
They
listen.
say
Oh,
that.
wait. You're gonna love this. So then Paul takes the microphone, and you can see his distress. He was, "Are you gonna tell me that there's corruption going on in the city, and I didn't know this, and it hasn't been reported, and have you gone to the police department, this, that, and the other thing?" So long story short, the man was let go, got fired.
The auditor.
They didn't renew.
What
He's
a
gone.
shock.
He's gone.
I can't believe
Oh, there you go. So this is why, when things like that happen, this is why when you have a bad situation like with the palace that is poorly managed, and then ultimately, let's be honest, who can really make the change here is the mayor putting the pressure on the Board of Aldermen on a subcommittee and say, go investigate this. If Frank's not doing his job, nice, we might like Frank, but at the end of the day, this is not about Frank and about getting a pension. This is about Waterbury. So guess what? If it's not working, and let's get an attorney involved, and let's not use Corporation Counsel because they're told what to do as well. You need outside people to come in here and say, I'm in this business. Let's just say you hire some consultants that you don't know, that you let the taxpayers and have a public hearing. So we're saying we want you to hire X, this X person to come in and vet this process. Is it broken? Is it working? And is he meeting the benchmarks of this contract? And the answer is going to be based on your findings. No, but let it come out and then take, corrective action.
The appropriate steps. Absolutely. That's what needs to happen.
Listen, but again, it's all about leadership, brother.
Yeah, and the lack thereof.
Absolutely.
I mean, we have not had leadership on this. This guy's been running amok over
100%.
here with no shows. I mean, I even brought the idea forward in the past that, Waterbury people, especially the minority community, has been shut out of the theater, that maybe we should start protesting.
Hey, listen, I got 300 parents. I'll probably have 500 this year. So if you want, we can bring all the Little League parents and tell them that we're going to do a big protest in front of...
In front of the palace.
Oh, bring them all. They'll bring their baseball bats and everything. It'd be great.
Open the palace to the people of Waterbury.
Yeah.
It only makes sense,
No,
Vic.
listen,
Come on. This is crazy.
No, it's real.
I mean, the amount of things you could do there. We could
real.
do our own American Idol. So instead of kids playing on their
listen.
phones all day, we
Yeah.
got kids, a couple
Yeah.
singing,
Oh,
dancing.
there's a lot of
performing.
talent in Waterbury.
There's a lot of talent.
A lot of talent.
Let's bring that
Yeah.
forward. Have a battle of the bands, local bands from the area. Have 2 or 3 of them playing.
I've always said, I remember, and I know that there's people out there that can do this. You take, just here's a great idea, right? And you just said American Idol or whatever. But just think about in schools, right? I know that, what is it, the Art Magnet School downtown? They have singers, acting, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. But being in Parks and Rec for over 30 years and 30 years working and volunteer another 5, there's people there right now. You take the North End Rec. If you told Margaret Hayward, hey, I want you to do a little American Idol, set it up. They have equipment already. You can tell John McCall, who's in charge of that department, go Chase Park House. So now you got the West End, you got the North End, and then you go to South End, you go Catherine Ortiz. Hey, you guys do all your American Idol preliminaries at the rec centers where it brings in the community.
Sure.
Just think about this, right?
North End, South End.
Right. So you do North End at River Baldwin. You do the South End. The South End at River Baldwin. You do the West End at Chase Park House, and they all have stages. They've done recitals there for dance, and then you do the North End, and now you have the city pretty much covered, right?
Then you bring them out of the palace.
So now you take your winners, and who you bring some community leaders to be judges, but you also want to include some people who really know arts and music,
Sure.
right? So you go out and reach out to music teachers and some local band professionals, whatever. Timmy Meyer would be a great judge, right? And then they pick the winners to go to Palace. But just think about that. If you fill the rec centers with 200-300 each night, because where there's kids and there's talent, there's parents.
Parents are
and there's
gone,
bodies.
and brothers
Right.
and sisters.
Now all of a sudden you're doing it for
friends.
free at the rec center. You're doing
Let's
it
go
for free.
see Jose
You're
on
doing it for free at the
stage.
rec center.
Yeah.
You're not spending no money because we own the buildings,
Yeah.
right? But you create that following, right? Now all of a sudden we get the winners. We're gonna now do the finalists, are gonna go to the Palace for 2 weeks. You will pack the house, my friend, with thousands of people. At least
Promote it through the schools.
All day
get
long.
everybody involved.
all day long.
And then you go out in the community to the businesses. You raise some money for.
Yeah. You do a little.
You
Yeah.
raise some money for prizes.
Yeah.
Top prize, 1,000, 50.
It's creativity. Put a subcommittee together from the community to
Vic,
do it.
you
You
can
have
fill that
talented
theater
people
up.
in the city. You just got to use the resources.
You could fill that theater up all day.
People don't want to work, Andy.
They don't want to work. I told you that. They
They
don't
wanna
want to
get
work.
paid.
They just.
For 104 days.
Yeah. Okay, Vic. And one of the scary parts is the failure of management at the theater is now Frank Tavera wants to buy the building next door where Dominic and Pia's is.
They still own it, though, Dominic and Pio.
Yes,
Yeah.
they want to buy it from them. But Dominic Pia's in the front. And then Frank Tavera wants to open up a restaurant. And then on the second floor, he wants to have a small theater of 300 seats.
For what? You can't even fill this one.
Come on, are you kidding me? But
Yeah.
in the story that I read, that he's trying to get grant money to buy the building. Then, here's where it gets really good. He's going to turn the building over to the city. And guess who gets to fix it? Us!
Oh,
We get to fix it. Another
money.
dirty deal. Are you freaking kidding me?
that's wild.
It's horrible.
You don't wanna get me
And
started
do you know
on
who's
that.
going to vote for it?
Huh?
You know who's going to vote for it? All the aldermen.
Oh, of course.
this is a great idea.
Well,
It's good for Waterbury.
10-5.
10 to 5. 10 to 5. So, all right, Vic, I mean, that's where we are with the Palace. You brought up a lot of good ideas. We just got to stay on it and force change. It's the only thing that we could do is now force change in the city. We just had the election. It didn't turn out the way that we all thought it would. I know how hard you worked in the election. I mean, what an incredible job that you and the Republican Party did in the primary. I mean, in the first district, I mean, 2.5 to 1, you guys blew them out. It's just you caught a tidal wave in the general election.
Well, it didn't help with what's going on nationally.
No, that's what killed it.
You know, that killed a lot of. And I'm not taking no credit away from the work that the Democrats did, because listen, at the end of the day, there's people in that circle over there that know what they're doing, and they have access to resources that we didn't have technologically, which sometimes it provides more fluency in outreach and running campaigns. We were doing stuff old school. We didn't have the resources that they had, and that's not an excuse. So you always have to give kudos to the other side, and also how they played it too. What was going on nationally, they drilled that home to the point where they brought down, a U.S. senator, a U.S. congresswoman, the state leadership, and they did a rally. There was not too many people in the room in that rally.
And it was all about Trump.
It was all about Trump.
Nothing local.
Had nothing to do with local. But listen, I hate to say this.
That's politics.
I'll say this out loud though, and I hate to say this. 9 out of 10 voters, and I kid you not, and I'm not an expert, but I've been doing this since 2011, and 9 out of 10 people that you knock on a door and you ask them, do you know what an alderman does? 0. Do you know that what's happening in Washington, that the way you vote in Waterbury for the alderman has no implications whatsoever, nil? They don't know that. To the point where, I'm going to tell you, the ignorance of some of the voters. And I love some of these people. Some of these people are even relatives. But it's just the unfortunate part. This is where, we're not going to be around forever. We need to teach our younger kids in high school. I would start it in 8th grade about civic engagement. I really would. I wouldn't wait till high school. We might lose some of them by high school. They really need to know the process. We teach civics in school and we teach old stuff. Those books need to be thrown away. You need to teach policy. You need to teach how the hierarchy works, who reports to what, how it impacts you personally, your family, where you live. How do you create policy?
Absolutely.
And those things. I had a lady call me the day after election. True story. Hey, do you think now we can get together since we won? This is after the general. Since we won, now that we won, can we get together and do a rally down in front of the mayor's office so they don't cut our food stamps? Just think about that. Somebody called me and asked me that. And I just took a step back. I said, hey, listen, we did win. We have 5 seats. We changed some faces. We really didn't win. But as far as what you want to do, and as it pertains to the SNAP and all the federal stuff that's going on, the mayor's office and the alderman really have nothing to do with that. So you going downtown,
Didn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I said, well, what you could do though, I dropped some names. I said, you can call this person and that person, and you can go in front of Johanna Hayes' office and go do a rally, because now she has a lot to do with it, because her vote implicates how it affects you.
Sure.
So, and I had to go into a whole civic class with her for about an hour. But the problem is, Andy, that 9 out of 10 people that vote just vote party line. I'm just telling you. And not until that starts. And listen, so they played this whole scare tactic thing, and this is happening all over the country, right? I went to this. I gotta tell you a funny story. So I went to and I love Jill Hartley. I think she's one of the best people in this world. She's always been a supporter of mine, and I can't say anything bad about the woman. She's just a good woman. But we're friends, and I would always want to be her friend. But I have to call things out. I went to a event at Focus and Drive, and I was up there with a few people, and I know probably 200-300 people in Focus and there's 370 registered voters up there. There's probably about maybe 1,200 people that live in Fulkerson, the whole little pocket. They had a cookout, and Sean Mosley was there, a few others, and Joe Hartley was there. Joe Hartley was talking to a group of African-American women, and I walked over to say hi to Joan, so I was behind her, so she didn't see me. And I hear the rhetoric that was coming out of her mouth, and it was about, oh, you guys, you have to support this crazy Trump and these crazy Republicans, do you see what's going on? They're snatching babies out of people's houses and blah, 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 blah. And I tapped her on the shoulder. I said, Joan, please stop scaring these poor people.
That's all they got.
In Waterbury, there's nobody taking nobody out of nobody's house. I'm like, please. I says, why don't we talk to them about the real issues? What's happening that pertains to them in Waterbury, and that's what's happening nationally.
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, some national stuff will affect us, but great election, great primary, really good general. I think we grew the base. I know we went from 6,000 to 9,000, and I think that number will be 12,000 by 2027. There's we have a lot of new people coming on board, a lot of young people, young professionals that are, doctors, teachers, principals, police officers, firemen, that are
good.
Yeah. So
more people
and
get
listen,
involved.
and listen, and for all of those out there that at one point or another I have been disrespected to, that maybe felt that I was a little bit out the box, I want to be a grown adult and say my apologies. I get a little bit competitive, and if you know Vic Cuevas, I don't like to lose. So, I might have said some things that if I really thought it through, I might have been better. The whole Ephraim Torres thing, the whole thing.
You were trying out new running shoes that day, right?
No, listen, I don't know the kid. You know what I mean?
No, it's the heat of the moment. I understand.
But it's the heat of the moment, and one thing I can tell you about me is that I don't care how old I get.
I'll tell you what, Vic, you look great for 82. God bless you.
No, I'm going on 62, brother, 62. And, I've had a lot of good friendships on the other side, but, some of it has been detrimented by some rhetoric and positions they have taken, And listen, it's politics. I get it. You got to have tough skin, But again, I'm man enough to come on the show and say, hey, listen, for any of those that I've offended, including DG, who walked by and I said something that was inappropriate and he got upset. We both got heated. And so my apologies for that, but I got to be a man about it. But, needless to say, I still have my crosses to bear with DG and a few others about some things that were said. And, will I ever decide to sit down and talk about it with anybody? I tried. Unfortunately, it came to fruition with Kenny Kern. When Jerry was running, I was in the office and Kenny Kern came in and I completely blew a gasket. And Kenny took it completely out, said I threatened him. It was no threats. I just said, well, listen, I'm coming for everybody's head and you're going to be a casualty of war. So this is something we hear every day in politics, right? That's not a personal thing, but people will just take it to another level.
Yeah, no, I know.
But this election changed Waterbury a little bit. There's a lot of blacks and browns on the other side. I'm really happy for the Republican Party. It's changed. It really has.
You're starting to wake up some dead souls here.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that we have is a media drain that nobody knows what's going on because the newspaper's almost non-existent. There's no more radio. Public access is basically non-existent. There's nothing left.
Yeah.
How do you get information?
You're not wrong.
How do you get information? So I took it upon myself after the primary that, let me get back on TV.
This is a good move.
Bring out information.
It's a good move.
Bring people out like yourself or last week, George Nugent and Brian McAtee or Tom Van Stone or Mike DG Van Carlo or Raphael Felician. Bring everybody on. Let them talk like you and then they could go home and take little clips and put it on TikTok.
Oh, Jesus. People hate me for that.
Yeah, but you're good, though.
It's a hobby, you know. I do some marketing
But
stuff.
Vic, I mean, you're getting information.
Yeah,
out.
it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, no, we got to get information.
It's all
out.
in humor, brother. All in humor.
You got to get information out to the people, and that's what we're trying to do. And I know one of the biggest issues that Dawn and Steve have been talking about, which for several months, which if I didn't listen, I wouldn't have any idea what they're talking about. And that's all these.
That's what it's about. Little pockets of people starting to listen. Yeah.
Yeah, and they brought out a lot of information over the last several months about these deals in the city of Waterbury where we're giving up all these tax abatements, which is just. I almost can't believe it. That we're just giving money away to a investor, developer, whomever it is,
right.
And we're just helping to line his pockets that already have been lined. It makes no sense.
They're bad deals. I have been fortunate enough to really understand it because that's actually the industry I am in now. In development as a property acquisition consultant for a major company. And when I hear these numbers, it's just appalling, really. We've done developments in several cities throughout the state of Connecticut, and there's never abatements like that. There's sliding scales. I've seen 10-year abatements, but, freezing the assessment of a property over 10 years, that's crazy.
They didn't freeze it for me?
No, listen. And here's, again, let's take a step back. What does that mean to the regular taxpayer? They don't even understand it. Do you understand? They don't understand it. So people need to.
They don't even know it.
Oh,
let alone understand it. You and I know because we're involved. People at home, they don't even know what's going on.
Well, listen, the only thing you can hope now, and this goes to all the aldermen, not just the new ones. This goes to all the ones. There's some new ones, right? There's
7.
Yeah, there's 7 new ones, right? There's Drury on the Democratic side. And there's Kenny Kern. Well, we know Kenny Kern is going to align himself with the party regardless.
I'm hoping going to align himself with the party.
You know what? Listen. I don't know the Jury. I know some people he knows that I'm really good friends with, and we've had long conversations about him. And they love him. They say he's a great guy.
No, nice
Listen,
guy.
I don't know the guy. I know Dawn Mariano.
Nice
I saw Dawn Mariano. She met him somewhere, and Dawn said she came in the room and she was like, "You guys not believe this, but this guy Drury, he is really a good guy. He's a smart guy." Now, I don't know the guy. Like I said, I know some people that he knows that are neighbors and friends with family, friends that I know that I'm over 40 years friends, right? And when I was calling around to try to get support in the 3rd district, the response was, Vic, he's our guy, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying, I don't even know the guy. They voted for him. They voted for some people on the Republican side, but these are educated people, right? So not to say that, I got to say it, and I'll say it again, most people, including some of my own family members, are just not educated enough to understand how it works. But I'm hoping that guys like Drury, guys like Rafael, Grasso, Sanchez, the rest of them, and even some of the old ones, right? Like, come on, Sean Mosley is not no dummy. He knows how to do 8th grade math, and some of this doesn't add up. When you look at this, just some of the numbers you came up with and this contract, just looking at this 5 minutes before I got here, it'll take me an hour. I'll write you a dissertation on what's wrong with this contract, but there's a lot wrong here. So, and Sean sits up there, he's a smart kid. Come on, you got to stand up for the people in your community. You really do. Now, Jeff Hunter, went to high school with him. Listen, Jeff sometimes says things that really don't make no sense. Good dude, like him. Been friends forever. I made some fun of some things he did with, on social media. But at the end of the day, if you don't know something, ask. Because you know what kills me about all this? If you don't know something, right, in your own house, what I would like to do is go to Jeff's house, Belinda Weaver's house, to all their houses. Let me hang out at your house for 1 week. Let me see how you manage your money. I want to see how you get a paycheck, you got to pay bills, and then you want positive equity to go in your bank. So you can go on vacation and pay stuff for your family and have a nice car and everything. I want to see how you manage your life. If you manage your life the way you vote on stuff, then you all would be homeless. I'm just telling you.
It's easy when it's other people's money.
It's
how to spend it.
It's terrible. It really is. But, you got to hope that, during this journey that we're going to go through over the next few years before we get to another mayoral election, that you just wake up enough people to say, listen, let's try something new. I coached sports my whole life, right? And the Yankees were a great dynasty. But at some point, George clean house. George Steinbrenner said, out, right? And Democrats have been in control forever in Waterbury. And now you're starting to see the effects of it, right?
Or the lack thereof.
Taxes went up. Did they need to go up? If taxes went up, why are you creating more government agencies? Why are you doing that?
Friends need jobs.
And then we get $3.5 million from Watertown. And the other day, something comes across my social media. Waterbury's raising the water prices. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah. It's wild.
They need the money.
So if I'm the mayor, listen, I'm not trying to give you any, insight for Paul, but Jesus, if you care about the people, and you're getting $3.5 million from Watertown, and I know that's money from back then, but you must have already recouped what happened back then to the negative impact of what we lost.
Yeah.
So now this is coming later on, but it just doesn't look right when you're getting 3.5 and then you're raising
the rates the next day.
That's insane.
No, I get it. But, back to this tax abatement. I know when I spoke to George and Brian, I think the St. Mary's deal, the guy's getting like $500,000 over 10 years.
Which one, St. Mary's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
$50,000 a year. Then you got the Oddfellows building, tax abatement, 10 years. Then you had Holland Hughes. They got tax abatement.
Is it the same developer, right?
All the same guy. Then a different guy, I guess, Amazon. 5-year tax abatement, which I think is a good. I don't even know the whole story, but something went on that mountain.
Yeah,
that's good. 5
Listen,
years, not a big
Andy,
deal.
I'm going to tell you.
And then we buy Bristol Babcock. We bail out somebody that had that. Then we're helping out. I forget who, buying some other property, Park Road, or I forget. Then we're bailing out the Archdiocese, buying Sacred Heart. I mean, this is all taxpayer money you're either spending or giving up.
Andy, I just want to say
5 minutes.
I just want to say something real quick before we wrap up there.
Double.
I know this is great. I want to tell you, I have been in that circle for a long time. All these people you're talking about, they're getting all the special deals. When I go to a fundraiser in the past, no matter whether it was Chris Murphy's backyard or it's all the same faces. All the ones that are benefiting lucratively from all these deals. They're the ones going to these PAC fundraisers that
sure they are.
Jeff Burgess should have a fundraiser in West Haven, and all the Waterbury guys would be there. And I look around the room, and these guys are dropping $5,000, $2,000, $10,000.
Look at all the contracts they got.
Well, listen.
I mean, come on.
Again, and then the PAC money comes back over here when there's elections, congressional, senatorial, whatever, and it all comes back. So it's the same cycle of people, and it's created a realm of power for them. And so they're not going to stop doing that. But what will happen though is they get comfortable enough that they start getting sloppy, and they have gotten sloppy. And so over the next 18 months to 24 months, hopefully some of that sloppiness will come out in the laundry, and you'll see some things happen in Waterbury that is going to really shed light on some of these bad deals.
That's what we need. We need a spotlight over here. Got to put put the spotlight on everything, because
see what happens.
It's terrible because 50,000 tax abatement a year in this property. 50,000. That's almost like one person's salary in the city.
Yeah.
So where's that money going to come from? It has to come from the rest of the taxpayers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Mike Bergen, when he was the mayor, his whole thing all the time was economic development. Economic development. Putting in the industrial parks. I forget how many, 2 or 3 industrial parks, trying to grow the grand list. It's all this guy ever wanted to do was grow the grand list. We're not growing the grand list. We're giving it away. So
To the wrong people.
to insiders.
Yeah.
The same guy keeps getting all the money, and you see
Yeah.
these contractors. Montagno, I think, is everywhere you go. You see it's the same people making the money over here. So exactly what you're saying, it goes around, and that's what's happening all day. And it's just it's a travesty, but it needs to be talked about. It needs to be brought out, exposed, and that's the only way you can stop it.
Yeah. Well, you know, next time that you have something that's upside down, come to City Hall and tell them to buy it from you and bail you out. Because that's what they do sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Here's the scary part, and I'll leave you on this thought. The exchange place, that was bought with ARPA funds. You know what ARPA funds are?
Nope.
Federal money, right? So you got to ask yourself, and I don't know because I'm not an expert, but how legal is that? Andy owes $800,000. I buy the building.
Clean
with
up
ARPA
his debt.
funds. He makes money, walks away from it.
You know,
And then guys come on your show, like George Nugent, who's not a stupid guy, and he turns around and says, "Oh, the building's dilapidated." Yeah, but you voted on it, George. You voted on buying it with ARPA funds to a guy who owned $800,000. It's dilapidated, but we're gonna pay $6 million. I mean, think about it.
I did think about it. It
Wow.
doesn't
I
make
mean,
any sense.
I just don't get it. People got to be better, man.
Well, listen, some of the deals, like George made a good point. Some of these buildings that if you didn't have money coming in, grant money to fix a building, it would never get fixed.
Right.
Because you spend 15, it's worth 5.
Yeah.
Which I understand. But that's great. Let the developer and the state do whatever. But don't take our money. If you're getting a $10 million grant, you don't need no tax abatement.
That's true.
You're making enough money here.
And
leave our money alone. Go do whatever you guys got to do. Leave us alone.
Let me give the viewers some clarity.
Real quick, you got
Real
30
quick.
seconds, Vic.
So when a developer comes in, pays for a building, and then gets state money or federal money,
Yeah.
right? And that developer has a construction arm, and I'm paying a plumber $45 an hour, I'm billing that for $100.
Sure you are.
And so that $10 million is not literally what I'm putting into the infrastructure development and the revitalization. What I'm actually doing is taking out a profit for the development of it.
Come on.
I understand that, but the average Joe doesn't know that, right? So now, if I bought it for 1.6 and I'm getting 10 and it takes me 5 to revitalize it, I'm making 5 on my construction arm side. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm ahead of the game, $3.5 million.
That's what I think.
I mean, and then they sell it. I mean, listen, man.
Nah, it's a
But
bunch of bullshit.
I think these guys, all the aldermen need an educational class on development so they can actually.
There's a lot of things that need to
Oh, I know. They need a lot of classes about a lot of things. But
Well, that's the biggest thing. Unfortunately, I have to keep talking, but we got to wrap this show up, Vic. We'll take
I
a short
appreciate
break.
your time, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate
been
you
real.
coming on. We got to do it again. Have you on periodically in the future. Let's talk about issues. You're an insider. You know what's going on. Very important to know what's going on, and you do. So we'll have to do it again. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. My name is Andy Michaud, Dr. Victor Cuevas.
Worked hard.
Worked hard, and I want to thank everybody for watching, and we'll see you again next week.